Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries. Our change will lead to better lives for all. New Lotte, the power of a better world. New today, better tomorrow. Lotte.
Coming up on Arirang News. South Korea says Japan's release of the Fukushima wastewater would meet international standards, including those of the IAEA, if it goes ahead as planned. This in the government's own analysis of the discharge plan and the IAEA's report. The head of the IAEA says he's well aware of the public concern in South Korea regarding the Fukushima wastewater. This as he heads to Seoul this evening, planning to meet government officials. Samsung Electronics is likely to witness its worst performance since the global financial crisis for the second quarter of this year, amid sluggish activity in the global chips industry. Meanwhile, LG Electronics' operating profit is projected to hit an all-time high, topping that of Samsung.
Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with South Korea's own analysis of Japan's planned discharge of the Fukushima wastewater and the International Atomic Energy Agency's report on that. The government says it would meet international standards, including those of the IAEA, if it goes ahead as planned. But it advised Tokyo to make some improvements to the plan. Our Lee Si-hoo has the details.
The South Korean government announced on Friday the results of its own independent analysis of Japan's plan to release wastewater from the destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant and confirmed that it does meet international standards, including procedures promulgated by the IAEA. That is, if everything goes according to plan. Minister for Government Policy Coordination Bang Moon-gyu said at a daily briefing that the analysis was conducted by an on-site inspection team and the nation's Nuclear Safety and Security Commission. The team especially checked on wastewater purification capacity and Japan's ability to react to unexpected situations, such as an infrastructure breakdown. Other factors reviewed included the credibility of radioactivity checks and monitoring. Bang said the team and commission concluded that the plan met radioactive concentration standards for matter released into the ocean.
However, this is only a review of the appropriateness of the plan proposed by Japan so far. Therefore, the government will negotiate with the IAEA and Japan to check on the final plan for the release of the wastewater. If there are changes, we will carry out additional reviews.
According to a simulation by Japan, the radiation impact on the South Korean coastline is estimated to be about 1/100,000th of average levels that occurred naturally. The government here said it would take around 4 years at the earliest and 10 years at the latest for the contaminated wastewater to reach offshore South Korean waters. Meanwhile, Seoul advised Japan to check on its advanced liquid processing systems filters more frequently and to look for more types of nuclides while strengthening the evaluation of the effects of long-term radiation exposure and gathering more data on the radiation exposure level for residents in and near Fukushima. Seoul will continue monitoring Tokyo's plans for the release and will establish a system for reporting any abnormalities it detects. Additionally, it has been made clear that the reports by the government and the IAEA are unrelated to South Korea's current ban on seafood imports from the Fukushima region. The ban will remain in place, the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety confirmed. South Korea has banned all seafood imports from 8 prefectures in Japan near Fukushima since 2013. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
The head of the IAEA, Rafael Grossi, who wraps up his trip to Japan and heads to Seoul this evening, says he's aware of the concerns about the wastewater in South Korea. He plans to meet government officials as well as the country's opposition party lawmakers. Our Bae-eun-ji reports.
Despite the IAEA's recent approval for Japan to release Fukushima wastewater into the Pacific Ocean, anger and anxiety still remain in South Korea and other neighboring countries. To address these public concerns, the chief of the UN Nuclear Agency, Rafael Grossi, will be arriving in Seoul on Friday evening. In a press conference in Japan on Friday, Grossi said he is aware of these concerns and that he plans to sit down for talks with South Korean government officials, as well as the lawmakers from the opposition Democratic Party.
I intend to see, of course, government officials, and I have received a request from the opposition party to meet, and I will do so happily. I think I should meet with everybody. That has, of course, relevant interlocutors that have views on this.
Grossi also added that he thinks the scientific works of the IAEA should be trusted, stressing that the agency does not take sides.
We are neutral, we do not take sides. We look at the science, we look at the problem, and we have an assessment. And then we can discuss. And this is what I intend to do as of this evening when I arrive in Seoul.
Also on Friday, Japan's nuclear regulator granted approval for the facility that'll be used to release radioactive water into the ocean. After completing safety inspections, the country's Nuclear Regulation Authority issued a certificate to Tokyo Electric Power Company, which operates the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Japan's GG News Agency reported that now that the certificate has been issued, facility-related preparations are complete for the discharge. That's close to filling up tanks placed around the nuclear plant to full capacity. Peunj, Arirang News.
South Korea late last month conducted its biannual military drills near Dokdo Island, aiming to boost defense around the area. That's according to a Defense Ministry official on Friday. The exercises have sparked protests from Japan, who on Friday voiced regret and reasserted its false territorial rights over Dokdo. Observers have noted a decrease in scale compared to the ones held during the previous administration, with no Air Force or landing forces participating. However, the military official said the Marine forces deployed were not largely different from past years. Korea's current account balance in May was back in the black, with the goods balance seeing a surplus for 2 months in a row. Further improvements is expected in the latter half of the year. Our Finance Ministry correspondent Lee Dae-yeon has more.
South Korea's current account balance returned to the black in May. On Friday, the Bank of Korea said that the current account recorded a surplus of $1.93 billion in May from a deficit of $790 million for the previous month. This was largely due to the goods balance, which has seen a surplus for 2 consecutive months, and a rise in dividend income from Korean subsidiaries located overseas. May's surplus was already widely expected by several industry insiders and government officials, as Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho last month mentioned that the country's current account balance is likely to see a surplus from May. This also aligns with the government's economic outlook that it will see a recovery from the second half of this year. However, the accumulated account balance for the first 5 months of this year is still in the red by some $3.4 billion. By sector, the goods balance posted $1.8 billion of surplus in May. Exports dropped 14.7% from the same period last year, a plunge for 9 months in a row now. Specifically, shipments of chips, petroleum products, and industrial chemical products dropped due to the global economic slowdown. Imports, too, saw a decline of 13.5%, especially commodities such as coal, petroleum products, gas, and crude oil, which posted a 20% on-year drop. The service balance was in the red by $910 million. With the ease of COVID-19 restrictions, the travel balance continues to see a deficit as more people tend to go overseas trips, especially to Japan. In terms of direct investment, Korean investment to overseas markets and foreign investment to the Korean market both increased, while foreign stock investment to Korea saw the highest rise since the relevant data was first compiled in 1980. One expert says May's figures are a positive sign for the current account balance.
The majority agrees that the current account balance will now continue to be in the black as the impact of China's reopening is expected to begin showing, which will lead the boost in exports. But what matters is how much of a surplus it will see.
He also said the amount of surplus partly depends on when the impact of China's reopening will start to appear, as that will likely affect the rebound in chip exports. Lee Dae-yeon, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics is likely to witness its worst performance since the global financial crisis for the second quarter of this year amid sluggish activity in the global chips industry. Meanwhile, LG Electronics' operating profit is projected to hit an all-time high, topping that of Samsung. Our Moon Hae-ryun tells us more.
Samsung Electronics has projected an earnings shock for the second quarter of the year amid a slump in the global semiconductor industry. The company on Friday disclosed an estimated operating profit for the April to June period of some 600 billion Korean won, or roughly $459 million. This is the lowest figure recorded by the company since the financial crisis of 2009, and a drop of nearly 96% compared to the same period last year. It follows a loss reported in the first quarter of 2023 and comes despite a forecast in April that the decline would ease in the second quarter. While Samsung's MX division, made up of mobile communications and consumer electronics, was able to patch up the losses made up in the chip sector with the release of the new Samsung Galaxy 23 smartphone in February, the effects of this release are expected to have waned in the second quarter. However, with the impending release of a new foldable smartphone coming up in the next quarter, forecasts for Samsung's mobile division are optimistic. With the rise of the artificial intelligence industry and their use of chips, industry insiders expect demand for chips to improve in the third quarter and for the firm to start making a recovery from hitting rock bottom. Meanwhile, LG Electronics' performance hit record highs for any second quarter as a result of a boom in the electric vehicle industry. It was 12.7% higher than the same quarter last year, coming to some 892.7 billion won, or roughly $684 million. This is the second quarter in a row that LG Electronics' operating profits have overtaken Samsung Electronics, and the second highest sum recorded for the same period in its history. In terms of sales, it peaked at nearly 20 trillion won, the highest sum ever recorded in the second quarter of the year. Analysts accredited the company's focus on premium product-orientated sales in its home appliances, high demand for electric vehicle parts, and stable supply chain management. The backlog of orders for its EV parts is expected to accumulate to 100 trillion won by the end of this year. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
South Korea's LG Energy Solution is maintaining its leading position in the global EV battery market, excluding China. According to SNE Research, a firm specializing in energy-related companies, LG Energy Solution saw a year-on-year increase of 52.7% in battery sales in the first 5 months of the year. It had the largest share of the market of over 27%, followed by China's CATL, although the latter narrowed the gap to 0.1 of a percentage point from last year's 6.9 percentage points. Korea's SK-On and Samsung SDI ranked 4th and 6th, respectively. Meanwhile, during the same period, global sales of EV batteries, again excluding China, rose by 52.5% year-on-year. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who is in Beijing, said Washington seeks a healthy economic competition with a fair set of rules. At the start of a meeting with Chinese Premier Li Chang, Yellen said the U.S. does not want a winner-takes-all approach, but a competition that can benefit both countries over time. She also said the two countries should not allow any disagreement to lead to misunderstandings that unnecessarily worsen their economic and financial relationship. Yellen is the second member of Biden's cabinet to visit China recently after Secretary of State Antony Blinken last month. The U.S.-led coalition of nations aimed to counter threats posed by illicit synthetic drugs will officially kick off Friday, Washington time. The coalition consists of 84 countries and global organizations and will begin its first ministerial meeting online on Friday. The U.S. State Department says the group seeks to stop the manufacturing and trafficking of drugs as well as minimize their damage to public health. South Korea will also take part, but China did not respond to an invite from the U.S. Washington had been pressing China to stop exporting chemicals used in making fentanyl, the biggest killer of adults in America. Moscow is stepping up its effort to publicly disgrace Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin, who is reportedly in Russia and not Belarus. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
Footage released Wednesday by Russian state TV channel Russia 1 TV showed the Kremlin's FSB security service as it raided the office and villa of Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin. The channel's coverage strongly condemned the Wagner Group chief, calling him a traitor over the last month's short-lived insurrection. Contrary to Russian President Vladimir Putin's pledge that he won't be prosecuting Prigozhin as part of a deal brokered by the Belarusian leader, it seems Moscow may actually be making a move to punish the Wagner chief for his role in the armed rebellion against the state. Meanwhile, pro-Kremlin media outlet Izvestia also shared images it obtained of the raid on Prigozhin's home, which showed a large collection of guns, a shelf of wigs, and a medical room. Images also showed fake passports that may belong to the Wagner chief, as well as gold bars and piles of cash, with Russian media portraying him as a greedy and violent petty thief. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, however, downplayed the raid, saying the government has no interest in Prigozhin.
We don't track his movements. We neither have the opportunity to nor wish to do that.
Despite reports last month that Prigozhin may be in exile in Belarus, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said Thursday that the Wagner Group head is in St. Petersburg and not in Belarus. According to the BBC, his private jet had previously been tracked flying to Belarus in late June and returning to Russia the same evening. It also made several flights between St. Petersburg and Moscow, but it was not clear if Prigozhin was on the plane himself. Lukashenko also added that the rest of the Wagner fighters were still at their bases, which could mean eastern Ukraine or a training base in Russia. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news, the world is warming at a disturbing pace. As tangible proof of this grim reality, the global average temperature marked a new record this week. Our Choi Soo-hyung has the details.
The global average temperature exceeded 17 degrees Celsius from 3 consecutive days from Monday until Wednesday this week, setting a new record. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has announced that on July 5th, the world average temperature recorded 17.18 degrees Celsius, surpassing the previous record of 17.01 degrees on the 3rd. Before this week, the previous highest global average temperature was 16.92 degrees Celsius in August 2016. Experts predict the record may soon be broken again, given the warm ocean temperatures caused by El Niño and the impact of climate change.
It is warming, and it's the warmest we've ever seen, but also if you continue on that trajectory, it becomes the coolest years, cool summers that we will experience for the next couple of years.
Experts point out that El Niño has not yet reached its peak. Data released on Thursday by the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service shows that the world experienced the hottest June on record since its observation began. Its temperature recorded 0.53 degrees higher compared to the June average over the last 30 years.
It's within the realm of the climate is warming, and we are starting to see events that remind us that the climate change is real.
Officials forecast July this year to be the hottest month since the last interglacial period, approximately 120,000 years ago. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Today wraps up the first part of the World Choir Games that's currently taking place in South Korea's east coast city of Gangneung. Our culture correspondent Song Yu-jin introduces us some of the mesmerizing choirs she met there.
The Choir Olympics have come to South Korea's east coast city of Gangneung. Around 8,000 participants from 324 choirs representing over 30 countries are taking part in this year's World Choir Games. While it's a contest, the atmosphere feels more like a festival. Here, there are choirs, each with their own unique charms. Among them is the Calling Choir from Korea, who rose to stardom last year after earning a 4th place finish at a Korean broadcaster's choir audition show.
When most people think of choirs, they tend to imagine serene and classical music. We wanted to break this stereotype and prove that a choir can perform in any genre. We developed our own style, fusing hip-hop and pop with popping, locking, and walking.
And it's not just about competing. The World Choir Games are also about sharing the joys of singing. So throughout the event, choirs from all around the world are holding free concerts across the city, like here at Gyeongpo Beach. The lineup includes some of the really talented, like the Diocesan School Old Boys Association Choir from Hong Kong.
We search very hard for our choir sound, a very distinct character, the sound of this choir. And then we try to continue to build, look for new exchange opportunities. We try to commission new work to keep ourselves fresh.
And there are those who embody the game's theme of peace and prosperity for all. The Young People's Chorus of New York City is comprised of 2,000 choristers ranging from 8 to 18 years old.
Community is about bringing people together, learning from each other, knowing that one song with many voices can bring peace and love.
There is also the Wagner Choir from Ukraine. Due to the ongoing war, the 38-member choir had to take a 16-hour bus ride to Poland to catch a flight to Korea.
Yes, our message that we want the world to know that our country is in pain right now, but there is always a hope about peace.
Singing has become a part of our lives. It gives us hope and faith that things will get better.
The World Choir Games reminds us that music is a universal language that unites the world, transcending borders and cultures. 송유진, 아리랑 뉴스, 강릉.
K-pop girl group Seraphim is topping Japan's Oricon charts with record-breaking sales, making it the top-selling rookie act in the first half of 2023. According to the Japanese music statistics company, Seraphim generated a revenue of 1.18 billion yen, or some $8.2 million. This is the first time that any female artist or group has surpassed the 1 billion yen mark in sales in the rookie rankings. Since 2018, Oricon has released a ranking based on the compiled sales for an artist's singles, albums, DVDs, and streaming. The group's Japanese debut single, Fearless, reportedly played a major role in this latest feat, surpassing 100 million streams as of April 10th. K-pop girl group NewJeans on Friday unveiled a couple of pre-release tracks for their upcoming second mini-album, Get Up. They're called NewJeans and Super Shy, and the music videos for the two tracks also dropped on the same day. In particular, the video for NewJeans features a collaboration with the American superhero TV series, The Powerpuff Girls. NewJeans are set to release their second EP on July 21st.
Central parts of the country will stay sweltering tomorrow. The Samut area in Gangwon-do province will see maximum temperatures surpassing 30 degrees Celsius. Such heat will create unstable air, which will produce sudden showers for many inland regions. Make sure to have your umbrellas handy. And southern parts of the country will see monsoonal rain until tomorrow. Torrential downpours are expected for Jeollado province, the south coast, and Jeju Island, with up to 150 millimeters in the forecast. Gyeongsang-Bukdo province will see up to 100 millimeters. Chungcheongdo provinces and the surrounding areas will see 5 to 30. Please be extra careful out on the roads this weekend. They will be slippery. And morning temperatures will be in a similar range tomorrow. Seoul and Busan will be starting off at 23 degrees. Highs in Seoul and Gwangju will get up to 31, Daejeon 30, Busan will be reaching 26 degrees. The capital region will see frequent showers until early next week. Have a great weekend, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for this Friday night newscast. Thank you for watching. Hope everyone has a great weekend and a good night.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, who's calling? Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?